Hi, I'm Stewart, and welcome to our podcast, The More You Know. Our podcast will be looking into how the manufacture of semiconductors interacts with our everyday life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special podcast. I know in the past I've said I've had some special guests, but this time I've got a stellar global guest who's taken time in their very busy schedule to come down and speak to me today. Yeah, you won't believe this. I have got Santa Claus who's going to be sitting in that chair with me talking about the environment. Can't believe it. So excited. Santa Claus. Yeah, welcome, Santa.
Hello,
thank
Stewart.
you for coming along today in your very busy period. I imagine it must be a bit frantic at the moment.
It's all well oiled. We know what we're doing. There's a bit of spare time built in, so no harm in coming to visit you.
I've not written my list yet. Have I still got time?
No,
I know you must be joking.
I was only joking, but you better get it done quite soon.
I will get it done soon, and I've got the chimney tonight. I will try and get my Santa list written in.
Your children did it 2 weeks ago, so no excuses, no excuses.
So here we are, Santa Claus.
Hello.
I'm going to try and control my excitement about the big man being here. 1974, the last time I saw you. You made a bit of a mess. But I want to talk to you today about...
I think it was the reindeer that made the mess in 74.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Now, there's a story.
Yes, a few carrots hither and thither. Ho, ho, ho.
I've heard that you're a big environmentalist and you're really worried about climate change. And so when we had these discussions about coming down today, you wanted to talk about the subject.
Well, I live at the North Pole. Wouldn't you be worried?
Yeah, and I'm interested in how Santa has managed to reduce or stop emitting emissions and try and get an insight to help us as we move forward and on this big globe that we live on and help to fight against climate change that we are experiencing at the moment.
We're well practiced. We've been doing this now for 1,700 years. That's how we've managed to reduce our emissions.
So you have no footprint?
No
Apart
environmental...
from the one on my windowsill?
Apart from the one on your windowsill and on your roof. But
yes.
You probably didn't see that one.
Well, not so much now because we don't get as much snow as we used to.
No, because of global warming.
So the big challenge, there's many challenges. If we look at the greenhouse gases that are emitted all around here now, we know we've got CO2, we know we've got methane, we know we've got N2O, laughing gas.
No, to N2O, whether it's in the laughing gas or in squirty cream. Find something else to propel your cream out the can.
I do like a bit of...
Laughing gas?
No, I do like a bit of double cream. But let's talk about CO2. Let's talk about transport.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how fast you travel. What's the technology? And does it really not leave any emissions?
Absolutely leaves no emissions whatsoever. We've developed a technology that allows us to travel nearly 200,000 miles per hour with no emissions. But obviously, it's a bit of a trade secret. Ho, ho, ho.
A trade secret. You can't... Come on, surely you could tell us what it is that you put in.
We don't put anything into the sleigh. It's fed to the reindeer. We've got some magic fairy dust.
Magic fairy dust. That just sounds amazing. Could we have some?
I think it would be a bit ill-advised to distribute the fairy dust to everyone. We don't want everyone flying around at 200,000 miles an hour. Imagine the chaos that would cause.
Yeah, I think so. You're travelling around very fast.
Yeah.
You're kicking over the glasses of wine.
Okay, well, it's milk, thankfully.
Milk.
If it was wine, I'd be kicking a few more over, wouldn't I?
Yeah, so this concept of you travelling fast, how do you manage to keep your beard and your hat and all that on when you're travelling so fast?
I have to take some magic fairy dust as well. And the main reason for that is we've got to
Sounds like a very good Christmas party if you're asking me, Santa Claus.
Well, the reason that I need to take it isn't because I have to run around quickly, although I do have to run around quickly. When you stop and think about it, said, I've got presents to deliver to 600,000 children overnight, so we have to move quite quick. But the other thing is I have to reduce my wind resistance, or else if I move too fast, and I've got a lot of wind resistance, and I'm going to get a lot hotter than I would in this coat.
600,000 children or
600 million. Sorry, 600 million children.
600 million. Yeah, you must be getting on a bit, Santa Claus, now. I'll forgive you.
But one of the advantages of taking the magic fairy dust is I don't age.
Ah, right. You've always just been old then.
Yeah, I've always
always been old.
I think I'd rather say mature.
I'll take your word on that one. So the magic fairy dust, it travels.
It doesn't travel. It allows us to travel quickly.
And are you going to explain more? Is this the deer? I can never remember the name of the deer. The reindeer, yes. Was it Dasher, Prancer?
Dasher,
the one with the
and
red
Dancer,
nose.
and Prancer, and Vixen, Comet, and Cupid, and Donner, and Blitzen. Have I missed one out?
I don't think so. Don't think so.
Do you not recall the most famous reindeer of them all?
Oh, yes, Rudolph. Yeah, see, I'm just getting too excited.
So Rudolph's quite young, actually. The current group, I've had nearly 200 years. It'll be 200 years next year. A big anniversary for us. What we found was that we had to deliver to more and more children every year, so we had to get a bit more oomph. And the way to get a bit more oomph has been to have another reindeer. So in 1939, Rudolph came along, but he's quite young by comparison to the other reindeer, and he tends to get a bit excitable.
Is that why he's got a red nose with all the magic fairy dust?
No, the red nose is really important because the red nose allows us to go out on foggy nights, and it was quite a foggy trip here today, so that red nose is really rather important.
So let's take, you've got all your reindeer. You sprinkle the magic fairy dust on the top of them?
No. It's part of their diet.
I thought you were going to give me a ho 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 there, but it was a no.
No. It's part of their diet. And we vary the amount in their diet. You asked about emissions. So what we found a long time ago was that if we feed the reindeer lichen, which is their natural food anyway, then their emissions are reduced. But Comet one day at a bag of fairy dust, his emissions went to zero. But as I say, Comet by name, Comet by nature, he was then sprinting around like an absolute fool. From then on, we've fed the reindeer a mixture of lichen and a little bit of dust during the year. And then as we get close to Christmas, the amount of fairy dust in their diet increases so that we can travel at high speed on Christmas night.
I recently saw a new advertisement for one of these electric vehicle cars. Why do you still stick with reindeer? Are they not a bit old-fashioned?
No, the energy density of the magic fairy dust is incredibly high. There's nothing in the EV market that can compete. So no, there's no room to change over the reindeer with electric vehicles at all.
I've just got this funny vision in my head of you plugging in your reindeers if you ran out into an EV charger somewhere.
I think they may kick you if you try to plug anything into a reindeer. There's only two sockets.
Would you recommend electric vehicles for non-reindeer transported vehicles?
They're only really the way forward when you've got a source of energy that's clean. The magic fairy dust is clean, and clearly electric vehicles are not a good idea if the source of electricity is not clean. Clean electricity, clean cars. So Mrs. Claus makes the fairy dust, and it's made exclusively with renewable energy. So it has no carbon footprint. It's a way of storing I think you call it kinetic energy or speed in a very condensed form. And when we feed it to the reindeer, they can move very, very quickly. I have to have some as well because I've got presents to deliver to 600 million children. So I have to move really quickly as well between house to house to house.
So when they're not racing around with you, with the magic fairy dust, how do you manage the reindeer emissions when they're back in the stables up in your grotto?
Just a little bit of fairy dust eliminates their emissions. What we found fairly early on was lichen rather than concentrate reduces their emissions by about 40%, and a little bit of fairy dust added in reduces it to zero.
I'm liking that. So we've talked about transport. What about CO2 emissions? They're the biggie, aren't they? How can you manage to cater for the 600 million children and adults who write their Santa Claus list every year in your location? How do you manage to run your factories? Because I think there's a lot of general managers out there with their own factories would like to know how you do it so they could do something similar in their factories.
As I said at the start, we've been doing this now for 1,700 years. So we've had a long time to ponder this one and come up with various technologies. So we use exclusively renewable energy. The summers are quite short, so we've got a bit of solar. The winters are quite long. They can be quite windy, so we've got a lot of wind power. About 1,000 years ago, we developed a means of extracting energy from the northern lights. That essentially means we're completely renewable.
Geothermal?
Nope, the North Pole is on an ice sheet above water, so no geothermal.
So if the climate change continues to go, I'm assuming then you'll be able to use wave technology at some point if it keeps going.
What we've done, we've got a climate mitigation plan which involves moving the facilities away from the North Pole. The Lapland site is still.
Sleigh?
It will involve some magic fairy dust, I can assure you. We've got a couple of sites in mind, but ideally we want to be beside either the Northern Lights or the Southern Lights because that's where we get our energy from.
But you don't always see the Northern Lights. So what do you do when there's no Northern Lights to take your electricity from?
But if you look at the photographs from NASA, what you'll see is the Northern Lights are always there somewhere up north. It's just you don't necessarily see them at one place.
So again, really for our general managers in our factories, it's going to be a bit of a challenge for them. So what would you say that they should do then if they've got no Northern Lights?
Then they need to work with companies that provide renewable energy. So as I said, wind and solar. You mentioned the geothermal. There's also hydro. Lots of options, especially in this country. Fewer in others, but this country is quite well blessed.
So I'm getting the feeling, Santa, you're a bit of an environmentalist. I get this feeling that you're concerned about the global impact of our activities. What would you say to the adults about the environment, about climate change?
It's all about working together. It's not about working for yourselves. I've got a bit of an advantage. Obviously, I deliver toys to 600 million children every year, and some of those children are the children of the world leaders. So there's a bit of a bargaining chip there. But the other bargaining chip is I've been around. I've been doing this job for 1,700 years now, so I've seen a lot of world leaders come and go. I delivered toys to them. So the discussion is all about let's collaborate. It's not about us as individuals. It's not about us as individual countries. This is a problem that's bigger than one country, so we need to work together. And hopefully I won't need to leave the North Pole.
I think that's a very honourable message, and hopefully our listeners, colleagues, friends are all listening to this message. To me, one of the fundamental challenges must be around the list we write to Santa, because there is challenges around the sustainability of many people's Santa Claus lists.
If we were to look back 100, 200 years ago, then a lot of the toys were made from wood. Clearly wood takes out carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and helps slow down or reduce global warming. Now a lot of the toys are made from plastic.
And packaging's terrible as well.
And packaging's terrible as well. What we have seen is the development of plastics that are made from carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
You've been watching our podcast, haven't you, Santa?
Well, we predate your podcast a bit because, as I say, we've got our EI, our ELF.
EI, what's that?
It's ELF intelligence. As opposed to artificial intelligence, we've got our own EI systems. So we've been working on methods of enabling carbon dioxide to be converted into plastics. And I will be honest, we've been leaking a few of those secrets.
There might be hope for a ship with magic fairy dust.
No, you can't have the magic fairy dust. But carbon dioxide to plastics, I think we could help you with.
So where do you sit on the aspect of electric lights or candles on your Christmas tree?
Oh, absolutely electric lights. And the main reason for that is health and safety, or as my colleagues would say, elf and safety. So absolutely no candles. Candles are too dangerous.
But surely candles give off less emissions.
Not in their manufacture, they don't. They're made from fossil fuels.
I thought all Christmas tree candles were made in Lapland.
No. You buy your candles. We don't make them for you.
I see.
Unless they come up on a Christmas list, and we don't see them coming up on Christmas lists anymore.
So, real Christmas tree or an artificial Christmas tree?
Real Christmas tree with roots that you then put back out every year.
Christmas Eve.
Yes.
I've written my Christmas list.
Yes.
I go away to bed.
Yes.
What would you prefer that we lay out? Milk, carrots, and a biscuit in a saucer by the fire?
I do quite like mince pies. A bit addicted to mince pies, but not too many because I've got 300 million homes to visit. So that's a lot of mince pies. But carrots for the reindeer is not a bad idea. They're well stocked on magic fairy dust. So by that stage, their emissions, the carrots won't affect their emissions.
So what if you don't have a chimney in your house? What am I supposed to do?
One of the other properties of magic fairy dust is it allows me to assume any size. So long as there's a little bit of a hole, a keyhole, for example, I can get into your house with all your presents. I don't need a chimney.
I've been reading in some newspapers that log burners and chimneys and coal fires are no longer environmentally successful. I mean, no longer environmentally allowed, or people frown on the part of coal fires, log fires. How are you going to get down the chimneys?
Well, I don't need a chimney, as I just said. As long as you've got a keyhole, I can get in through a keyhole. Any slight crack, I can get in through.
What if you've got key card access?
What if you've got key card access? Well, guess what? You're not getting a present this year. Really? Ho, ho, ho. Any nook or cranny, I can get through.
Well, there you have it, folks. Santa Claus, any nook or cranny coming your way this Christmas. In Lapland
Yes.
and in the North Pole.
Yes.
What do the elves eat in
The
Lapland?
elves actually eat elf food, which is obviously quite...
Elfy food.
No, elf food. It's obviously quite good for you.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of magic fairy dust goes into the food that we eat because at the end of the day, we need to have zero emissions.
And how many elves have you got?
45,000.
45,000 in both
45,000.
factories?
But just stop and think about it. We've got 600 million children to cater for. What do you expect?
Can't you just cut the amount of numbers of...
Are you asking me to introduce automation to get rid of personnel?
Well, you did mention about EI, and I'm surprised you need 45,000. Can't you just use 25,000 and sprinkle some magic fairy dust?
We could use magic fairy dust, but magic fairy dust takes quite a lot of our renewable energy to make. So we try to use it only when it's needed. That's sustainability. Just use it when it's needed.
If the North Pole...
So you're trying to make my elves redundant?
No, I'm just thinking if the elves were not busy, there's some of our factories that elves could come down and help with productivity.
There's a little bit of a problem. Elves are about so big, so you'd have to redesign all your factories to accommodate humans and elves.
Ah, I see. So, Santa, we're coming to the end of the podcast, and myself and the whole production team would just like to thank you for coming in today. We know it's a really busy period for you and the elves. I just want to say thank you.
It's been a complete pleasure, and I would like to wish the children and all the families a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everyone.